Welcome, everyone, to the CoLiving show. Today, we've got an amazing guest for you, Caitlyn Verdugo, and she's going to talk all about all the things co-living. Miller, what's up, man?
Hey, Craig, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing fantastic. Your head is extra shiny today, bro. I almost need sunglasses when I go on this podcast with you.
It's the I just got cleaned up for the episode here. Beard is trim, mustache is big. We're looking good.
So, I need some ball guy perspective real quick. Like, when you go out and you're trying to be nice and clean, and is it like, do you razor the head? Like, how is that
Oh,
like
for
the
sure.
clean?
I think it kind of depends on like your phase of life, but definitely being a young guy, if I just let the sides grow out or whatever, I don't think it would look quite right. So I'm clean shaven 100% of the time.
Okay, I love it. I love it. It does look good on you, I will say.
Thank you. I dig your stash.
Thank you. So, Miller, why don't you give everybody a little teaser about what Caitlyn's going to talk about today, and why should they listen through the whole thing?
Yeah, so Caitlyn was a very early adopter of co-living, right? She's in the Atlanta market where PadSplit sprouted up, which was kind of the beginnings of modern pieces of co-living, right? Was definitely in that Atlanta sprouting up phase and a few years ago that she mentioned. So she's an early adopter. She's seen a lot of acquisitions. She's an agent, so she's acquired them. She's good at setting them up. She's good at running them operationally. And she kind of has a twist on it, just the fact that she's a woman. There's not a lot of women in investing in general, definitely not in co-living with it being such a new space. So she kind of brings us some of that perspective that we can share with men and women listeners.
Yeah, I really loved just hearing her perspective on things. And it's funny how we can just hear how she sets up the room differently and how she sets up the house, and now so much thought and care and all that stuff that us guys, like, we just don't even think twice about. You can tell women are a lot better at making a house a home. Like, it's just innate in their DNA. Like, God planted that in them. And I just think she just radiates it and beams it. And she's just so passionate about co-living in general that I think she's a wonderful asset to the space.
Yeah, especially the property setup. That was the thing I was most interested in about her story, is how she does set them up way different than someone who used to be an engineer and wants to do everything exactly the same way every time to be most efficient. Instead, she kind of has the perspective of, hey, I'm going to go in here and make this thing super personalized to increase the resident experience, which I 100% appreciate.
Yeah. And like I've said before, it's her way is not right or wrong. Your way is not right or wrong. It's just different. It's just like, how do you want to run your business? What makes what best suits you and what you're looking to do. Guys, I cannot tell you enough to make sure you listen through the whole episode. Caitlyn actually, some of the funniest things that she said is actually at the end in the big three that we did. And some of her kind of bomb droppings happened down there too. So listen all the way through. We're super excited to start with Caitlyn Verdugo. And yeah, enjoy the show. Caitlyn Verdugo, aka Co-Living Cait. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Good. How are you?
Yeah, we are fantastic. We're so pumped to have you on as our first guest show. How does it make you feel?
Amazing. So happy to be your first guest and very honored, if I do say so.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, the good thing is that you're going to be the best. But now you've got to live up to the hype because you got nothing before you. So it's only people after you until we have you on again.
I got to set a good start here.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for listeners who don't know who you are yet, shame on them. But when someone calls you Co-Living Cait, what do they mean? And what is that? Yeah, what does that mean for you in your day-to-day?
They call me Co-Living Cait because I exist in so many spaces in the co-living vertical. I am a co-living real estate agent. I'm a co-living investor, an operator. I raise money for co-living. I coach other people on how to get into co-living and how to operate successfully. I am starting a co-living podcast called Wealth by the Room, as well as an educational series to streamline education and coaching for the people and a lot of women that are in my co-living community that really just want to streamline their education. And so, yeah, that's why I'm Co-Living Cait, because I exist in all aspects of co-living at this point.
Did you used to be short-term rental Cait or midterm rental Cait, or have you always been co-living?
I am a fan of alliteration and also rhyming. So my rhyme was real estate Cait. And then I had to niche down. And so I couldn't find another rhyme for co-living. So I just switched into alliteration, which is Co-Living Cait. So yeah. But on TikTok and Facebook, I'm still both of them. So,
They say that alliteration and rhyming is how people remember things the best. So whether that's just because you're fun, Cait, or it's because you're actually a low-key marketing genius, either way, it works.
who's to say?
I like to think the reason, one of the big reasons that Miller and I decided to do this show together is because we both have alliterative names, Miller McSwain and Craig Curlop. And so we just knew we'd be successful because of the alliteration. Caitlin, I don't know if are you married with your last name, Verdugo?
Mm-mm.
You're going to have to marry someone with the last name C, and then you can join the cool club.
I know, right? C is not a super common last name, so I don't know how that'll happen, but I just have to brand myself.
Well, Craig's off the
and,
table,
continue with
unfortunately.
that.
Yeah, I'm taken, but I don't have any brothers, but well, I'll keep an eye out for you, Cait.
I'm sure my boyfriend would love that.
Okay. Yeah, your boyfriend, I hope his last name starts with a C. If not, we'll talk to him. Anyway, Cait, let's talk a little bit about like your origin story, right? Like how did you started off as real estate, Cait? You moved over to co-living, Cait. How did you even get involved in real estate to begin with? And then what made you decide to want to niche down?
Yeah, so I am a lifelong entrepreneur. I started a business when I was 17. I ran a swim school and I had to wait until I was 18 to like officially hire the 7 employees that I already had. So I ran that for 6 or 7 years and then I quit that so that I could pursue my passion of traveling to random places. And then I got back into the entrepreneurship game after I was fired as a teacher during the pandemic, at the very beginning of the pandemic. And so real estate is the place to be, honestly. It's like entrepreneurship dream. There's so many things that you can do and there's so many paths you can go down and you can find a lot of success kind of easily, relatively. And so I got into real estate in the boom of the pandemic and I started house hacking because I'm also not a huge fan of paying a mortgage. So I learned how to do construction from YouTube, bought my first house and built out the full basement downstairs into a studio. And then I stumbled into a PadSplit meetup when I was like doing a showing with a client. And that client happened to be like one of the very first PadSplit hosts in 2021. And so I was like, damn, this is pretty cool. This dude just bought 9 of these co-living houses this year. I want to do that. So I didn't get involved with it again until 2022 or 2023. And then I started just going to meetups and stuff like that. And then I was like, all right, that's the move. You got to niche down in real estate. You can't just be a regular real estate agent, or I just couldn't be a regular real estate agent. Niche into co-living. It's cool. It's fun. I like it.
So did you start off first as a house hacker and then you got your license, or were you a real estate agent and then you became a house hacker?
Real estate agent to house hacker.
Gotcha. How did you qualify for that first house hack with like a variable income as a real estate agent?
A very lovely co-signer who was my
Ah,
mom.
I love Bank of Mom. That's my favorite bank.
It wasn't Bank of Mom. It was co-signer of Mom because
Co-signer.
you can contribute your commission to your down payment and then you can negotiate seller concessions to the down payment also. So it was Bank of Seller, co-signer of Mom.
I love that. I want to like just elaborate on that a little more because it sounds like, were you able to actually buy this house with none of your own money down?
Very little of my money down. And
Okay.
it's one of the like top things. I love when investors also have a real estate license because a lot of people don't realize that you can contribute your commission to a down payment. You cannot contribute seller concessions to a down payment. That can only cover closing costs. But you can, if you're a licensed agent, because that's your income, contribute that to your purchase price or to your down payment.
Yeah, I love that, Caitlin. I don't know if you know, but I'm a real estate agent as well. And one thing I've been doing recently is with these like the new buyer commission laws is when I'm buying a house, I like you sign a buyer's agreement with yourself. And so I pay myself like 6, 7, 8% or something like that. And I actually, instead of taking seller concessions, I just encourage the seller to increase my commission. And that ends up paying for basically a whole down payment for a house hack, sometimes even more.
Amazing.
And so I love that you were able to think of that. And yeah, it's super beneficial to get your license if you can.
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
maybe let me ask you guys about it, right? Because I think I might be the only one here who does use another agent, right, to purchase my deals. Like I'm not purchasing them as an agent. Do you guys think it's worth being an agent day one, or it's like when you're buying X number of deals per month, per year? Like at what point is it worth it to get your license and put the time in for that to get that benefit?
Right? You want to take it?
Caitlin, you got to go first.
Day one, day
Day one,
zero, day
day zero.
zero. Yes, day zero. Imagine you can access any house you ever want to see. You're driving by, you have the Zillow widget on your phone that pops up nearby houses for sale. Literally, you can go see that house right now if you want to. I'm not waiting for an agent to open. No.
I would say it depends on where you're at in your journey. So if you're a beginning investor, like 100% day one, for the reasons Caitlin just said, to really reduce your down payment obligation, and then also like the flexibility that it comes later. Like it's really easy to help a friend buy a house and make a quick 10 grand, or it's really easy to build kind of like a secondary safety net business if it's not your main thing right now when you've got your real estate license. I would say if you're already a really successful real estate investor with a big portfolio and like you don't really, if you just want to get into co-living, then maybe that doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer. Of course.
Maybe I'm thinking about it backwards then. Yeah, the way that I was thinking about it is, once you're getting enough deals, then maybe the time is worth it because you're getting a lot more juice. But at that point, your time may not be worth it.
But I do think that there's definitely some benefit to having a realtor that is not you, who is very knowledgeable about co-living. But I think I end up talking to a lot of new investors. And so honestly, a lot of my answers are probably going to be better suited to new investors, just a caveat. But yeah, I think it's good for investors to get their license.
Awesome. Okay, well, cool. Let's get back into your story. So you mentioned getting this first house hack. Is that a property that was rented by the room or a different strategy? And when did you actually get into the co-living piece of it?
The house hack, I currently still rent out the basement as a midterm rental. And then I got into co-living for myself in 2024.
Oh, okay.
After going to another like Georgia RIA meetup, and PadSplit was one of the sponsors. So I dove head first into co-living. Everything became about co-living, between like me buying my own deals and then clients getting into co-living, like helping them acquire new properties, sell properties, and now basically all I do is co-living sales.
Yeah. So you mentioned PadSplit in particular. For folks who don't know, maybe can you describe what PadSplit is?
Yeah, so I always like to describe PadSplit as kind of like the Airbnb of short-term rentals. It's a platform that helps us book out our rooms and does a lot of the rent collection and the tenant messaging and tenant ticketing systems for like maintenance orders and stuff like that. I always be clear, PadSplit is not a property manager. It is just the platform that allows you to streamline some of your operations.
Gotcha. And have you seen, right, you're in Georgia, which is where PadSplit's based. That's where, it was founded and it's since expanded from there. What do you think the PadSplit environment looks like in your area now? And I guess how is that different for other markets around the country? Because there's a lot of people listening to this podcast who are probably not in Georgia, right? So that's kind of the hot spot, but is it available in other places too? How does it look for the different markets?
Yeah, so Atlanta is the most mature market as far as like PadSplit goes. I think we've got the most rooms here, probably 5x any second place. And if you have stats on that, I'm sure you can like link them somewhere. The PadSplit is in other markets, breaking into other markets all the time. I know like Phoenix is big, Dallas is big. I'm not sure where you guys are located. Are you guys on PadSplit?
Yeah, so I'm in Colorado. They are available in Denver very recently, but I think that's the only market in Colorado that I'm aware of.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was begging PadSplit and this other company called Homeroom to come to Colorado for years because it was such a big demand. And then like they didn't come. We figured out another solution, and now they came. And then we were just like, oh, sorry, we figured it out. But I really love PadSplit and everybody there. Are you on PadSplit right now, Caitlin? Do you use PadSplit, or are you more self, like without them?
Yeah, I'm on PadSplit.
Okay.
And we've tried to not use PadSplit, and the marketing and tenant acquisition piece in Atlanta is a lot more complicated because so many people know PadSplit and so many people are on PadSplit. When it requires emptying out your whole house if you want to explore another platform. And I just don't want to eat that vacancy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's a good point there. I think they definitely have like a guerrilla advantage in Atlanta, right? I think even if you tried to list a room not on PadSplit, kind of like you're saying, you would have a difficult time because just if you Google room for rent, they're not going to find you till like page 5. So I think where PadSplit is probably a requirement is markets like Atlanta and Houston, where they have huge market share, just from the data that I've seen. If you're outside of those markets and PadSplit does exist, it could be a way to fill your rooms. But when you're outside of those markets, you do have the option of going other ways too, I would say. Yeah, but Atlanta, you might be tied.
Yeah.
Awesome. Caitlyn, I'd love to get to know a little bit more about like that first co-living property that you bought. Like, how did you find it? How did you look for it? What did you see in it? And of course, like, what was the conversion like?
Yeah. Okay. So the first house that I bought, we did a burr, and I bought it with my partner who has been in real estate investing for a decade. He's got a bunch of long-term rentals, had done burrs and flips and stuff before. So all of the information I had from being a real estate agent combined with his like real estate investor and also some like construction knowledge definitely came in handy. So my first property is Candace. She is very cute. I love in Atlanta the like tri-level ranch. So you basically walk in and it's a living room, dining room, kitchen. Then you go upstairs, downstairs. Upstairs is all the bedrooms. Downstairs is like a finished basement. And I was just seeing tons and tons, looking on like PadSplit. All of them look like that. And so I found one of those. And my favorite type of listing is when the agent on the other side is a pad listing agent. She had never been in the house. She had it mislisted. It was underpriced by a lot. And I knew that. So we snagged it. We did a burr, made a couple mistakes on it, only converted it into 6 bedrooms and did not convert the garage. So we also didn't raise enough money, which is classic new investor mistake. So it didn't perform very well because it was only 6 rooms and 1 ensuite. And so we ended up going back later and converting the garage into 2 additional bedrooms. And now it is lovely.
So is it an 8-bed 3-bath now, or 8-bed 2-bath?
Yeah, it's an 8-3 now.
8-3. Okay. I heard you say something. We didn't raise enough money. That is a common thing for new investors.
Yes. Classic.
I guess, what did you do to cover that difference? And then how much would you raise? And like, how do you address that problem going forward?
So to cover the difference, I sold more houses and then just put it straight into that, honestly. And now we actually underwrite in holding costs.
And I would even say for people out there looking to buy into deals, you really want to make sure that, yeah, your operator is including all of those sort of costs. Same thing happened on our end. The very first time that we raised funds, we underestimated a handful of things, right? But you better bet the second time we did it, the second time you did it, the third time we did it, the third time that you did it, our numbers are way, way more on point. So definitely investigate your operators and check their numbers. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I want to share just like two more things on that. Is number one, do your first deal, because you're going to learn all your lessons on your first deal, and you'll make mistakes, and it may not be, maybe you don't make the mistake about not raising enough money for your deal, but there'll be some other mistake. Just do that so you can get the first deal and you can get it even better. Number two is you really see who you really are as a person. And Caitlyn, literally, she was short. She could have easily gone back to her investor and said, hey, I need another 30 grand. But that's not what Caitlyn did. Caitlyn's, no, I'm going to go hustle harder and I'm going to cover this 30 grand because I want to earn this investor's trust, I'm sure, is what in the back of your mind. And I don't want to let people down. And so like when you are partnering with people, think about what are people doing when things get tough. And Caitlyn, I just want to, you glossed over it, just did more deals and like whatever, no big deal, dirt off your shoulders kind of thing. But like,
make more money. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that is a solution to a lot of people's problems, unfortunately. But I just want to like commend you for like, hey, I made a mistake. I'm gonna go hustle harder. I might miss a night out at the bar or something like that to achieve the goal and to make sure you're meeting your investors' expectations.
Yeah, for sure. Very important.
Yeah. So Caitlyn, you mentioned, does this house have a name? Did you say its name is Candace?
Yes.
Okay. So
all of my
maybe let's
houses
talk.
have names.
Okay. That's what I figured. Okay. So let's dive into that a little bit, because I think we definitely run our properties a lot differently. Like just the fact that you name them, I think that means you're putting some personalization into these properties. Whereas honestly, when we're running ours, they're as templated and cookie cutter like as possible. If I named one Caitlyn or named one Candace, I'd have to go think of the name for the next one. So we don't do it. So maybe can you talk a little bit about that personalization like touch that you put into these properties?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that is actually a really big differentiator between me and some other operators. It's like if your model is rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and just flying through it, that's one way to do it. You know, I at this point have a rinse and repeat with some personalization. I also, so I name all my houses and I also personalize the room names to the houses. And this is like such a girl thing to do, right? I know, I can
100%.
hear it. I can hear it in your boy brains. I can hear it. It's a girl thing to do, but all of the room labels I make on Canva and I frame them, and they're like watercolor designs of whatever, like that house's European cities. And so it's like room one is Athens, and it's like a picture of Athens, Greece. And I actually get comments on that all the time that people love that. So Candace is European cities. Raven is, of course, birds. And we've got some trees. We've got lakes. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have any sort of system to like what you like? Is it Athens is A and then Barcelona is B? And do you have a,
I know I do.
is there any rhyme or reason, or do you just roll with it?
Of course, there is a system. Yes, that we have them alphabetical. Athens, we have, oh my gosh, what's B? I cannot remember the B name, but then Copenhagen, we have Dublin, we have Edinburgh, Florence. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I in some of our bigger houses. But yes, they are
like
all, yeah, I know.
I
It's so much more welcoming to be like,
Yeah, it hits
"Welcome
me
to
right in the feels.
Athens."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Rather than welcome to room one. So,
Yeah. So this is to give you guys just a quick story. This is something I'm really bad at, is naming things and being creative about it. When we were starting our very first real estate business, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I, for the life of me, could not come up with an LLC name. So I took an enormous amount of time that was a waste and wrote a program that took all the adjectives in the world and randomly paired them with nouns. I'm not kidding. I still have this. If anyone wants it, shoot me a DM. I'll send you the program.
oh,
And what we came up with after hours of random combinations was Black Dice Properties. And we no longer have that LLC because it's dumbly named. I commend you for your creativeness.
no, thank you. I think Black Dice Properties is interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Or I think our other
She's just
option was
saying
like
that, Miller.
Crimson. Yeah. Yeah. I think Not Rocket ended up being way better.
Not Rocket. What is not
Yeah.
Rocket?
So now we're Not Rocket Company. So that's it's not rocket science. It's just real estate. And that came to us organically without any code written. And I think maybe that's the way it works best with creative things.
Okay, yeah, I do not Rocket better than Black Dice. You're right.
Cool. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So note to self: if you're gonna name something, ask Caitlyn. Don't ask Miller.
Correct.
Ask ChatGPT.
Ask ChatGPT these days. Yeah, don't ask Caitlyn either. She's way too busy
No.
naming her houses. Yeah.
I'm asking ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So Caitlyn, look, when you're going to like look for a home to buy as a co-living asset, like what are some of the things that you're looking for?
There's lots of things to look for. There's an entire list of things to look for. Neighborhood, no HOA, of course, and supports co-living. So usually my favorite houses are built between like 1950s and 1970s. I love two types of houses here in Atlanta. I love the tri-level ranch and I love the split level. Tri-levels were built in the 60s usually, and then split levels are like late 70s to early 80s. And I love those two types because there is always plenty of space to convert. Tri-levels almost always from the 60s have the living room, dining room. Both of those are bedrooms. Then downstairs is usually a finished basement. It was probably an unfinished basement when the house was built, and then they converted it and finished it over time. And so we take two more rooms from there, and then lots of them have 4 bedrooms upstairs. So you get pretty easily 8 bedrooms. And then just bonus, if it has a garage, you throw 2 more in there, good to go. Easy peasy. You can see it from the pictures before you even go to the house, usually.
Do you have any sort of bedroom bathroom ratio that you like live and die by? And then like in terms of budget too, like garage conversions are probably a little more expensive. Do you do that right away, or do you hold off?
So I have a slight advantage in that my partner is a GC. And so while I use a different GC for our other conversions, we do tend to use some like inside guys if we're just going to sub stuff out. So my garage conversions tend to be like 15K, which is a good amount less than other people's, I think, would be. So it depends on the garage if I convert it right away. If it's very easily blended in, if that makes sense. If you can just frame it in and no one would have ever even known there was a garage there, I'll do it right away. If not, we like to let the house simmer a little bit and make sure we're not going to get popped with any code violations for anything else before we do the garage too.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for the garage conversions in particular? I think this is something that's getting a little bit hotter in co-living right now. As even with the co-living strategy, we're seeing cash flow squeezed just over the last year or so. So I've been seeing more and more people doing garage conversions. Like we just finished our first one a couple months ago. I saw you posted in our Facebook community for the show that you had just finished one too. That kind of blew me away. Honestly, it was incredibly nice. I guess what kind of considerations do you guys have when you're thinking about a garage conversion versus building a room with two walls? They're different beasts.
Yeah, I mean, there's some similarities. I like garages that were carports, really, because a lot of times they'll have those little AC vents at the bottom, or they'll vent into the crawl space, at least in Atlanta. And so you can pull in ductwork from in the crawl space into the garage, and you don't need to put in a mini split. I also put in a wall unit that's actually going pretty well, or a window AC unit that was like $500 instead of a $5,000 mini split. And where I think a lot of people maybe get caught up is mini splits are really expensive. So my garage conversion, that one was 12K because we didn't do mini splits. But a lot of people are like, oh, you have to put a mini split with two heads, and that's an extra $7,000. No, put in a freaking window unit. They look nice these days. Put it in the back. Yeah.
So what do you do for heat?
It's a combo unit. Amazon.
Oh, the AC unit is combo in the window?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
snap.
a heater too. Go on Amazon.
Wow.
You have to be specific when you're looking on Amazon because not all of them are. And you have to type in like heat and AC unit. But yeah, it's a combo unit.
Wow. I think we're slow in our portfolio.
Yeah.
I've never seen them before moving up to North Idaho, but we have these things called cadet heaters, which are pretty easy to install on the wall. They're like $150, $200, and you do have to wire it in, and they pump, and they're fairly efficient. And like I heat my office and my shop with that, and it's really good for heat. It's not a combo unit, but I guess another option there potentially for the
That's
garage.
interesting. I've never heard of that. A cadet unit. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Hey, Caitlin. And so speaking of heat, what do you guys do about, particularly in the garage, insulation? How far are you guys going to insulate this thing that maybe used to it, what may not have been an interior part of the house, right? So there's certain things missing like insulation potentially.
Yeah, we insulate the whole thing. Outside walls, inside walls, whole thing. Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people using rock wool. Have you guys used rock wool before?
Never used that.
No.
Okay. It's probably double the price of like regular insulation, but insulation's pretty cheap if you're only doing like those two walls. It was maybe like a couple $100.
Yeah. Yeah. And so something for the listeners to think about as far as insulation goes. I think it does definitely depend on city and like location of the country, but we just got an update to our code here in Colorado Springs that requires that we insulate the floor in garages, which blew the price up like a lot. And my contractor told me it was something new added to the national codes, but cities can choose to adopt that part or not. But a lot of cities are. Yeah, that kind of blew one remodel out of our budget just because of that.
For sure.
Yeah, something to think about.
How are you insulating the floor in a
We had to build it up. Yeah. Or we would have had to build it up like 14 inches or something like that and put insulation in the floor.
That is not cheap.
Beware.
Yeah, make sure that's a really good like red alert there. Make sure that whatever code is, like if you're going to do a garage conversion, you're going to pull permits. If your city requires that, make sure you're doing your research on that because that could totally make or break a deal right there.
Yeah.
I know we're going deep on garages, but this might be the last question unless Miller's got more. What do you think about like a lot of people in a resale look for garages? Like arguably having a garage increases the value versus having like a 9th and a 10th bedroom. What are your thoughts there in terms of potentially losing some value on the home?
Yeah, that's always a consideration, resale. I will say in like most of our neighborhoods, there's a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of houses that don't have garages. This one it only had a carport, and actually probably some of our others only have carports too. So I would say people value carports less than garages. And also, if it's like at the very top of a hill, no one was really parking there anyway. So I don't know. I'll probably never resell it as a regular house though. So I'll just flip it into another investor.
Yeah. Craig, can I note on that just a little bit? So I think when thinking about the garage conversion, exactly like Caitlin said, that's market dependent too, as far as like the valuation of your property goes, how it impacts it. So I'm not invested in Atlanta or Houston, but I know folks in both places. And my understanding is, there's lots of houses without garages. So like a lot of garages have already been converted in the past. Like it's pretty normal.
Yeah.
But in markets where that's not the case, it is a consideration. So like in my market, for example, if we were to go, let's say that there's a 4-bed house, we were to add 2 walls to build a new one, and we spent $5K on that, and it brings us an extra $7K a year. That was actually like 120% investment, return on investment or something like that. But whenever we think about garages, here that does not add value just because other people aren't doing that. So just be careful you don't think about it as a return on investment. This is a mistake I made early on, I think. So if we spend 20K on a garage and it brings 20K back that year, it's really not a return on investment because we put the 20K into this thing and the value, we didn't actually bump the value up. So in that case, we think of it as like a payback period. So if we spend 20K and we make 10K this year, it's going to take us 2 years to pay it off, is how we think about it instead. Because really, it's not an investment in that case, since we're not adding value. But in markets like Houston, Atlanta, I think you could maybe think about it in traditional return on investment type means. All right, cool. So we want to continue on with your journey here, Caitlin. What was the next project for you?
The next one was Raven, and that was a much easier conversion. Just a couple walls and call it a day.
Awesome. So at this point, you're getting a couple under your belt. Are you starting to really develop the systems at this point? Like you're starting to, the first property is a one-off, and then as we do it more and more, we figure out what works best, and ideally we document it. What are your systems starting to look like as you evolve in your co-living journey?
I've got lots of systems. I am a systems girly.
Woo-hoo!
I have an entire acquisition system that I help people with now, because as I was like getting on my journey, I was also helping other people on their journeys, right? And it's like they're transferable skills. Co-living is the nuance, but it's like I'm still helping people buy houses, and I have been for years and years at this point. So I really developed like an acquisition system. I call it the factor framework. It helps people remember the steps. So it's like find, analyze, close on the actual house, the important part, transform, operate, and then of course repeat. So there's of course sub-steps in all of, I won't go into, and you can buy my course. But yeah, so factor framework is the acquisition framework. And then we do like an acquisition playbook that I give to my operations manager, and she runs through all of that. And it includes like the design sheet that we give to the contractor that specifies everything that we want done in our colors and our hardware choices and our unique character that we add to the houses that aren't, I call them boo boring basic, so sorry. But our houses are not boo boring basic. They're not gray. They do have a little character. They do have some uniqueness. And then we flow into the installation playbook, specifies how everything is installed for our guys. And yeah.
So honestly, I don't care about the acquisition stuff. That's all. Craig likes that stuff. So as far as that's the stuff I don't like. But as far as the operations go, like once you're actually like start to manage, there's certain things that PadSplit does, and then there's certain things that you need to be doing, and you need to build your systems on top of PadSplit. Mm-hmm. Maybe what are some of the systems you're doing versus what is PadSplit taking care of for you?
Yeah. So PadSplit sends us leads, is like the booking. But we vet the leads, we like interview them, they fill out a Google form with all of the questions that we ask them in our secondary screening. We have a phone call with them, we ask a ton of questions, look them up in the court records of all 3 of our local counties for evictions, because PadSplit is not very good at that, and then accept or deny, and then we'll send it to our assistant that puts in the codes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you are doing a secondary type of screening. What sort of questions are you asking when you're screening these? So this is like a earlier on, or no, I guess actually they've already booked, right? So they've already indicated like very strong interest then on the PadSplit side. So you're just buttoning up a few things with the secondary screening.
Yeah. We asked them about like their story, and One of the important questions now that we ask is, tell us about your last landlord, tell us about your last living situation. And if they really complain about their last landlord or say it was like a bad situation, we ask them again. We really dive into that, because if they're going to complain about him, they're complaining about me too. So yeah, we do dive into a lot of questions like that. Tell us about your income. What do you do for work? How clean are you? How community oriented are you? Yeah.
So once you do actually approve them, right, and you get someone moved into the house,
Mhm.
I guess what sort of special things are you doing in the house? Like I know that you guys do a great job with your management. Yeah, how is the household actually run with the folks that are in there?
It's pretty easy. I don't
Yeah.
think we necessarily have a ton. We don't have a ton to do with it. I think something different that we do is we provide like paper products, and we tried going off of that for a while, and people ended up just like fighting about it, and it's really not worth it. Spend $40 a house and never have to deal with that nonsense that we get from tenants about, she stole my toilet paper. I don't care. Yeah. I think that's like a different thing that we do.
I love it.
Can you guys do that in your houses? Or
We do something very similar. Yeah, we definitely provide paper products and things like that. Yeah, similar idea, just to solve some of those issues that do come around between tenants. So anything that is shared has the opportunity to cause conflict. So
yeah.
soaps, paper products, trash bags, so plastic products. Yeah, all of that,
Yeah.
we do a very similar thing. Again, just to reduce that headache, right? That's the same thing that we've seen. Whenever you start to operate at scale, you don't want to be being nitpicked about this and this. Instead,
Right.
like Caitlin said, spend $40. And that's actually what we found too. I think we found that it was $50 a month on average per house. So it's super minimal. Even just like your time, right? If you spent 3 hours in the month, like solving little issues, was probably worth it just to pay for the products.
Absolutely. And label the cabinets and label the fridge.
Boop, boop.
Okay, Caitlin, you're definitely like sharing some ways here that we can get ahead of some of this conflict that is inevitable to happen in these co-living homes, right? So we don't want to like skip over this part. But it sounds like labeling things, and honestly, it's expectations, right? When you label things, you're setting expectations that the cabinet labeled Athens is for the Athens room, and whatever,
Right.
like it's all labeled appropriately. You're doing obviously like your upfront screening to make sure people are chill and cool and all that kind of stuff. But tell us a little bit about what happens when conflict does happen. What system do you have in place to help resolve that conflict?
With the conflict between the residents?
Yeah, the residents.
I honestly can't say that we've experienced that many conflicts. We had one situation where like a guy downstairs was complaining about the girl above him, and luckily we just had another room, so we just moved him to another room. We'll try and do more behind the scenes stuff rather than get involved in their conflict, but we also have them sign an addendum in addition to the PadSplit lease, like just being really upfront, we don't get involved in conflict, and like we don't manage this like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think honestly, maybe it's one of those things that people do get really scared about with co-living, right? Is the tenant conflict. And in reality, just so on our side, now that we've just scaled more, we're kicking out like I think it was 2% of people due to like some sort of tenant conflict. So if you have two houses, 2% is like probably never going to occur, right? It's only when you get
Yeah.
to having 100 rooms that okay, now 2 a year, you're kicking someone out, right? So yeah, maybe it's just something that people are over scared about until you get to many properties, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of new investors are concerned about the tenant conflict, but I've actually heard that they're more concerned about the tenant landlord conflict. And I think that is an issue that is more concerning than necessarily tenant tenant. We have had more tenant landlord conflict where they're like very rude or super disrespectful. And they don't seem to be that way to the other people in the house, but mostly to us. So in that situation, we do send a notice to vacate. I am not rude to people, and I don't tolerate people being rude to me like that. So in that situation, we do just let them know, hey, this isn't a good fit for you. So sorry, here's a notice to vacate. You got 14 days. Sounds like you need to move on.
Yeah. So if you don't want to be personally involved with like the conflict type stuff as the landlord, and you don't want to be like on the phone, talking with people and mediating all this conflict, I guess are you just kind of using the email or the notice, like the piece of paper kind of as your system, just like to be the bad guy, right?
Yeah, we just use the messaging platform. We don't talk
Just
to anybody on the phone
Yeah.
aside from their screening. But yeah, boom. Notice vacate. Not a good fit. So sorry.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're very similar. We rarely talk on the phone with people. It seems to drag things out. I think especially when you're doing things with a lot of volume like co-living, one house with 8 people, it's a lot more scalable and reduces some of that conflict. I think just by text, email, done, rather than long drawn out back and forth.
Yeah. And it has a chain. There's the chain of communication there. We can go back and this is when I notified you of this issue.
Awesome. Caitlyn, you've got such an amazing system growing here. I want to get into another totally different segment about like how you're helping a lot of women build wealth through co-living. But before we get there, I want to know, maybe this is a selfish question. What's your portfolio look like now? Like how many houses do you have? How many rooms under management do you have?
Yeah, so I've got 4 houses of my own. And then I've done a couple dozen between like acquisitions and then sales or like restructuring, transferring over the past couple of years. But I only have 4 of my own.
Not only 4.
So
I still for a co-living home. I mean that's the size of the portfolio.
Yeah, how many tenants is 4 houses though, right?
40 something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It scales very quickly. It can get out of hand if you're not having a control over it. It sounds like you do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so would you say you're focused right now, Caitlyn, more on building the co-living portfolio, more on your real estate sales, or I mean, you've got so much going on. If you had to pick one to grow and go all in on, which one would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I can pick one. I do definitely prioritize my I don't want to say I don't even want to say that. I don't want to pick one. I don't want to pick one. Because I love the portfolio and then I also love acquisitions and I love the women's community. Okay, it's the women's community. Fine. Make me pick one. It's the women's community. I am a teacher at heart and I love helping other women get into real estate because historically women have been really cut out from the real estate investing space, right? It's like women couldn't even buy houses on their own until freaking 30 years ago. So that is definitely a passion of mine and is where my like majority focus lies.
I'm actually really happy that you said that because that was like where I wanted to go next and it was like a really nice transition. Yeah. Thank you, Caitlyn. And also I just made the transition way worse by telling you what the transition was supposed to be. But anyway, it's like a bad joke having to explain it. Can you tell us like, so you're super passionate about helping women be able to buy real estate and build wealth through co-living from like a co-living investor perspective, right? Like what is the difference between a man going in and buying a co-living home versus a woman? Like what are some things that women have to be more mindful of or think ahead of?
Good question. Because you can go knock on some 6-foot tenant's door and I cannot. So it's like immediately right there, our physical differences do make a big difference. Just a quick story time. We just had a tenant that we had to evict. He was a 6-foot tall football player and I had consulted with so many guys and I'm like, how do I get this guy out of my house? And they're like, oh, just go take his door off. Can't take a door off. Like, what? Sure, my handyman can, but now we have to, whatever. So he was like, oh, go take his door off. Oh, go move into the room next door. I'm not going to move into the room next. I am a 5'4", 120-pound woman. This dude is massive. I'm not going to do that. But he did that. And that was like his method for getting people out of his house quickly. So it's like automatically am at a worse position just because I am a small person, but I have 1,000 things to say about that. But
so what do?
We had to go through the whole legal process and evict him instead.
Oh, so I got you. Okay.
That maybe a large guy would have if he were to move in and get that guy out. You instead had to use money
and time.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you're seeing? I hear stories. My wife has bought a few properties as well, and she's like on it. Like she knows contracting and all construction like better than probably some contractors themselves. But she never experienced, and maybe I should ask her again because it's been a little while. I've never felt like anyone was trying to take advantage of her from a contractor's perspective. Maybe they just like saw that like, oh, she knows what these things are called. Have you like noticed people trying to like mansplain to you, or like is there any element of that? How do you handle that when it does come up?
All the time. Great example.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had all of our appliances delivered, and when he was delivering the fridge, you know how like the water line at the back, you basically just plug into the connection. And he was like, oh shoot, sorry, we can't install this one because I don't have the right tools to take off this little connector right here. And I was like, that's a shark bite. I got a wrench. I could take off the shark bite for you if you're a fridge installer and you don't know how to take off a shark bite. I am questioning your ability now. And he's, oh no, oh, okay, I can do it. I can do it.
Wow,
But he just
that is
assumed
one.
that I didn't know how to take off a shark bite because I was a woman. Would he have made the same assumption of my male partner in the other room? Probably not. But because I was the one standing there, disadvantage. The roach sprayer that comes out when we had roaches falling from the ceiling, he was like, oh no, this isn't that bad. You guys don't have roaches. We'll do some minor spraying, but it's okay. It's okay that you just saw one little roach and whatever. And I'm like, no, this is actually a real problem. And he took off all the outlets and he goes, oh my God, you're right. It wasn't one. I was like, I know.
This whole concept, like, it fascinates me a little bit because I also have learned about bimbification. Have you heard of this?
No.
Bimbification. Okay. My wife got super into this for a while. Basically, it's like you're a woman and people talk down to you and you mansplain it and like they mansplain and all that. And so you can like get all defensive and be like, no, I know this. Or you can just like play into it and like pretend that like you're kind of dumb and like you don't really know what you're talking about, but actually you're super smart. So then they start like revealing things to you. They start like giving you discount. Like there's like ways that you can somehow like play it to be like the dumb girl, but also like actually win in the end, as long as you're okay with them thinking that you're a dumb girl, but then you might get like a really big discount. And there's like a whole like method on how to do it, which I was like, I didn't go too far down it because I'm not a woman and I really can't apply it. But I was like, that's a really cool thing. If I was a woman, I would be like reading all the books on this.
I've never heard the term for it. Of course, I've done it. Yeah, like, oh, this is so heavy. I can't lift this. Oh no. Oh, but this. Oh, you're not gonna take my old dryer. Oh, because I didn't pay for it. Shoot. Well, what if we just did? And then he does, and I'm like, oh, great, thanks. Take off that shirt, right?
Here's your wrench. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of wrench you need? You need a crescent wrench. Okay, that's the one I got.
I love it. Yeah. So what are some patterns you're seeing among women who want to take action versus who want to stay stuck? Like, where do you see women getting the most stuck in like taking the next step in co-living?
Overanalyzing, 100% hands down. And I think that this is probably common of all investors, but I think women have a tendency to overanalyze more. And women tend to take less risks because we've been societally conditioned that way. Sit down, be nice, be kind, be quiet, but not go and take those risks. So I think our community is one that's like really focused on, you can benefit from this community confidence to adopt that as your own and take action. Like, you don't have to know everything right now. Like, we've got you. Between all of us, we know the things. You don't have to know it. You don't have to overanalyze it. Just make the next move. And that's a big difference between people that are stuck and people that actually find success.
Yeah. So is this wealth by the room that you're talking about? And can you explain maybe what that is a little bit for the listeners in case this is something that they're interested in and that it can help them out?
Yeah, for sure. So Wealth by the Room was morphed from She Leads Co-Living. It has become co-ed kind of thing, but She Leads Co-Living is the brand that we made to put on the Women's Co-Living Conference, which is a very like intimate experience for women, very curated and more like, intimate experience. But we've morphed it into the podcast that we're recording and doing like the educational series, the courses, stuff like that. It, of course, starts with mindset and building confidence, and now is more like a co-ed thing.
Oh, so, okay. Maybe can you explain the co-ed piece a bit then?
Yeah, we didn't want to exclude men from the education series as well. Men can listen to the podcast.
Popular demand?
It was popular demand. Our live events will still be women only because women tend to thrive in a space that only women occupy. But the like online courses and the podcasts and stuff are available for everybody.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And so you guys just wrapped up the first Women's Co-Living Summit, right? I guess kind of how was that? And is there something else planned in the future?
Amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. It was a sold out event. And for our first one, it was like, that was better than expected. We had 75 people in person and 100 people total with a few people online. We had a ton of speakers and panels. Everybody came. People came from all over the country. We had a couple countries represented as well. And it was like a very intimate experience that people could jump from like couch to couch, breakout session to breakout session, and really like dive into learning and curating the experience that they wanted over the couple days. It is the first annual event, so we will be doing it again this October. Again, by popular demand, everyone was like, can we pre-sign up for the next one? Are you guys selling something here? And we're like, no, we didn't know if it was going to be successful, but it was amazing.
I will say that I'm in touch with Clara quite frequently, and she just raved about it. So it's one thing to like to hear it from you, but it's another thing like to hear it from third party. Like I was like asking her all about it, and I'm just so happy that it went off without a hitch. And Caitlyn again just talks to how great you are. So good job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Clara was actually instrumental in helping us create it. We actually went to your guys's co-living conference, and then we were like, you know how I like ran up at the end and was like, all the women. We got so much feedback from all those women that they wanted a women-only event that we like spawned it off of that. Are you guys doing another conference?
We are. Yes, we are. Right now, there's a little bit of convolution happening. Caitlyn, I'll let you know a little bit more about that. Would love to see you there, of course. And yeah, anybody listening, of course, this is how we all get together, men and women. Please, men come, women come. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Very cool. Yeah, excited to go again. The first one was amazing. It was really good.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, we definitely poured our hearts and souls into that one. Yeah, conferences are tough. They're fun. They're so rewarding, though. It's like a like a play or something where like you put all this work and effort and time and into it, and then it's like the performance happens and it's 3 hours or a couple days, and then you're like, now what kind of thing. But man, that like last bit, it's true that you're only as good as your last impression, because that last impression at the conference makes you want to do it again.
Exactly.
If someone wants to buy their first co-living deal in the next 12 months, what's the 90-day roadmap you'd give them?
The roadmap starts with, I think, mindset. Co-living is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you have to commit to taking all the steps of the marathon in order to be successful. You have to train for it. You have to be analyzing properties, connecting with mentors, or connecting with experienced folks in this space, and really just committing to doing the hard thing, which is taking one step after the other. So the like general roadmap is evaluate your market and choose, connect with somebody experienced in that market, practice analyzing properties, and it will flow from there.
I think that one piece was incredibly important. Connecting with someone who's in the market, who's right. There's a lot of mistakes that we made early on where if we would have just known someone doing co-living, we could have totally jumped all of that. Do you have any ways that you recommend folks meeting someone in their market that is doing the exact strategy that they want to co-living?
I love the Facebook groups. I am a Facebook group junkie. I'm probably in 400 of them. But yeah, there's so many. There's a Facebook group for everybody for everything in every market. It's like all the PadSplit ones are in a ton of markets. So helpful. Going to your like local real estate meetups, I think is really helpful too. The more people you get to know, the more people know you, the more people you get to meet from the combination of the two of them, right?
For everyone out there who is looking to join a group, you can just go onto Facebook, right, and look up PadSplit, your city, co-living, your city, real estate, your city. And then in addition to that, there are the national groups, the national PadSplit group, national co-living groups. And there are definitely people in many cities in those, right?
Exactly. And you can see who's posting the most and judge them by their posts.
Yeah, and you can even go in there and search. You can search city names inside of a group too. If you're in one of those national groups, I think mostly what it does is just like pulls like comments and posts where people mentioned it. But then you can click on their profile. I've done this a lot when we've looked at new markets to go into. I do look for existing operators there. And maybe one other thing to hit on there, Caitlyn. Another place that you can check that I haven't really seen anyone do a whole lot is you can go to meetup.com, right? And you can find local meetups. But if it is a remote city, you can even go to meetup.com and just message the host of the meetup. So I've done that a lot. I'm like, hey, I know you're super well connected in Atlanta. I don't live there, but I'm looking to do co-living. Do you have any attendees that do co-living? And then they can connect you to those local boots on the ground type investors too.
That's so smart. I had never thought about that before. Genius.
Boom. I love the starting, and I always think getting in the room with people doing what you want to be doing is like the easiest way to get started. It's like it's like an infection. Like you're just going to get it. And then There's a quote out there where it's like, I forget the quote, but the kind of the premise is like, you want to be around people where your goal is their normal. So if you've got a goal to be fit and go to the gym, like you should hang out with people that are fit. If your goal is to be a real estate investor, be with people that are literally real estate investing and that's their day to day. And just naturally your goals will become reality. So I always think through like that. Caitlyn, we could keep you here for hours and I would personally love that. But we got to get into the final part of the show, which we call the big three. I just made that up. So I hope we actually didn't agree on that. I just totally just said
that's what we're calling it this episode.
I love it.
Yeah. We just talked about how we're not great at naming things. Miller would have called it like whatever 3 is in like binary language, like 0110011. But anyway, the big three. So this is the first question here.
What is one roommate story that you have that you'll never forget? Do you have any tenant horror stories yet?
The guy that we just spent 4 months evicting, he was a horror story. He moved in and had been evicted a couple times already. I will never again not look at the eviction records. He was one of our very first tenants. So he was here, he's been here for a while. And I didn't know that back then, but always double check their eviction records. And if they've done it before, they'll do it to you.
I totally agree. We've run into a similar situation before. So how are you doing that eviction check, just real quick, in addition to PadSplit, how are you doing your eviction check?
So DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, and Fulton County each have Smart Search on their court records. And it has taken me a long time to learn how to do it because it's a complicated system. And it sucks that you have to go do it individually, but you can put in their name and any court cases that have been against them will pop up and you have to click into it like you're going to file into it. And then underneath it will say the exact process they've gone through. If they were just served with it and nothing else, okay, maybe we'd consider it one time. If they have gone into it, they answered it, they know the process, clearly they went through all the steps and the writ was delivered by the sheriff, declined immediately.
Yeah, and actually, I really like your process for doing that because, a lot of us use screening platforms that do credit checks and background checks and everything. But there has been a couple of cases where we've noticed that court or, whether it's eviction or criminal type issues haven't made it to those national databases yet. So when we ran our credit background report, all that, it didn't show up. But when we searched the local court records, it was last week, right? So it just hasn't made it to those big databases yet. So I think that's a really good approach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Love it. Caitlyn, second question. If you were starting a new co-living community tomorrow, what's the first rule you'd set?
They have to sign my addendum. And my addendum is very specific. If you are 3 days late in your rent, we reserve the right to turn off your codes, no questions asked. If you get 3 complaints from other members of the community, notice to vacate. If you violate any of these set laws right here, notice to vacate. Must be signed and agreed to before you move in. It sets the boundaries for everybody, and I'm not moving people in without having that addendum signed anymore.
Are these enforceable? Do these comply with Georgia law? Okay.
I'm not sure yet. Hasn't been tested. It has worked in circumstances, but it hasn't been tested by Georgia code yet.
Okay.
TBD.
I was just curious because I have all these. I've had things in contracts before that were kind of harsh and but every lawyer I talk to is it doesn't matter what your contract says. The law supersedes any contract. But so again, if you can use it as just an iron fist, but it might be an iron fist that's invisible. Yeah.
So actually, maybe I want to ask you about that because kind of what's the downside then to having such an amendment or addendum signed? Is there a negative consequence that can come to you, or it's just maybe it's not enforceable at the end of the day?
Just that you think the contract works and that you're prepared that this is a solution. So I would say that can be your first go, but I would definitely have a plan B, C, D in case someone actually does know the law.
Yeah. So it could still be a good idea to do something like Caitlyn, just to set that expectation up front, regardless, even if push came to shove.
Yeah. And cool. I think the likelihood that they know is very specific. Georgia law is pretty unlikely. The likelihood that they're reading this paper in front of their face is definitely more likely. I mean, it looks very legal. So.
Yeah. And it sets that great expectation right up front. They know you mean business. Okay, so let's move on to the final question here. So what is one habit or system that you've discovered that kind of makes maybe your acquisitions easier, makes your operations easier, anything like that for the listeners?
I think operations, I do want to say PadSplit. I feel like using PadSplit really streamlines the operations. It's the messaging, it's the maintenance tickets, it's the rent collection. We don't have to do a lot of that because PadSplit does a lot of that, which is very helpful in the operations.
Yeah, we only have so much bandwidth.
Yeah.
Amazing. Caitlyn, final question. Where can people follow you, learn more about Wealth by the Room, follow your story? Like, if they want more Caitlyn, where do they go?
I am CoLiving Cait on all platforms. Facebook. I also have the Facebook group She Leads CoLiving. Join that and join us in the discussion if you are a woman in or wanting to be in CoLiving. And then colivingcait@gmail.com if you're interested in the Atlanta market. And wealthbytheroom@gmail.com if you want some coaching and some courses and to be put on our wait list for when it's released in a couple weeks.
Amazing. And is that Cait like Kate, Cait?
CAIT. Yeah. CoLiving
CAIT.
CAIT.
Okay. CoLiving Cait. Awesome. Go check out CoLiving Cait for more Cait stuff. She's awesome. Caitlyn, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been like an absolute pleasure to have you. And you've provided such tremendous value to our audience and our future audience. But so, yeah, excited to see you again this coming CoLiving Summit. And we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Cait.
And that was CoLiving Cait Verdugo. What do you think about Caitlyn Miller?
Woohoo! How exciting, Craig. Our first guest episode complete. And I don't think it could have been a better guest, right? Bringing someone in who brings such a different perspective, definitely than both of ours. And lots of new tips, lots of new insights around setting properties up, personalizing them, acquiring them, how to get involved in the co-living community, right? All sorts of things.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And as we're coming to the end of this episode, I was thinking about if a 6'4" like jacked guy wasn't paying rent. I don't know that I would go knock on that door either. It's like, it's scary when you're like being that person to deliver the bad news.
Honestly, I've never gone and delivered such news because I think I would be equally as afraid. Yeah, and I think maybe the framework or the point here is that Caitlyn did have certain things that could be considered disadvantages, but all she did was find solutions to them, right? There's a solution to every problem in real estate, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, right? It's just a different set of solutions. And Caitlyn came up with ones that made sense for her.
Absolutely. Yeah. I loved how like resourceful she was. Again, how she really makes each house a home and makes people really feel loved. And she really genuinely provides a fantastic place for these people to live at a very low cost. And that's like what we're here to do, right? We're ultimately here to solve this affordability crisis. And part of that crisis is these single people, like probably 40% of people need a home for cheap and they're single. That's the part of the puzzle that we're here trying to solve. And I think she's doing a fantastic job at it.
Yeah, if you're ready to get out of here, Craig, I would say Caitlyn is in our co-living cash flow community. That's actually one of the first places that I met her, virtually anyway. If you guys head over there, she's in there. You can interact with her. You can interact with us and interact with other people in the community, living, breathing, co-living 24/7 every single day.
Can't wait to see you there.
Yeah, see you guys there.